let's not think because Nelson Mandela has passed on, the world has come to South Africa, all is well. All is not well.
Truly speaking, so much fucked up in the country.
We are in an economical civil war. We cannot run away from that.
South Africa is free, but you say economically South Africans are not free. Why?
What is happening in South Africa? If Mandela is an icon, then these people following him, are they understanding his vision?
Nelson Mandela, revolutionary, prisoner, and statesman, a symbol of reconciliation.
We promise God that we are going to follow the example of Nelson Mandela.
In life, he helped topple an oppressive system and led a young nation into democracy. In death, the man known affectionately as Tata Madiba leaves a contentious economic legacy behind.
We require an economy that is able to address the needs of all the people of our country.
After his death, 10 days of mourning were announced ahead of Nelson Mandela's funeral, a time of celebration and sober reflection for many South Africans. I went back home to Johannesburg, the country's economic engine. I wanted to find out if Madiba's Rainbow Nation, the miracle that had emerged from the darkness of racist apartheid rule, was living up to his lofty ideals.
So Madiba handed us this valuable thing. Are we squandering it now?
I think to a certain extent we are squandering it. I'm not negative about South Africa, but I'm saying let's not be too complacent. Let's not think because Nelson Mandela has passed on, the world has come to South Africa, all is well. All is not well. There's inequality in this country, there's corruption in this country.
South Africa is wealthy. It is also officially one of the most unequal countries in the world. Here, the richest 10% makes 51 times more money than the bottom 10%. The inequality is deep, but not unique among developing countries. Like in Brazil, where the richest 10% makes 42 times more than the bottom 10%. But in the economic powerhouse of the United States, the top 10% makes 15 times more. And it is in the country's sprawling urban townships like Soweto, where most of the poor live. Kliptown is a district of Soweto. On a warm Wednesday morning, I found locals offering their goods and services in this marketplace. The place had a lot of life, but nobody was really buying or selling anything. I met the aunties, Agnes and the two Elizabeths, who told me business was slow.
So these are offcuts from a factory, right? You guys are making cushions out of this, man.
Yeah.
Who's faster, you or Mama Elizabeth?
You can see yourself. Yeah.
The cushions sell at $5 a piece.
They're soft. It's like a girlfriend.
3 out of 4 people in Kliptown were unemployed in 2005. That's when the government stepped in and pumped in around $50 million to uplift the place. This market was created and an open-air museum to commemorate one of the most important dates in South African history. You see, Kliptown was where the Freedom Charter was signed.
Do you know the history of that?
I didn't even go. I was passing.
In 1955, all the groups opposing apartheid, basically, well, they got together, including Madiba, and they signed the Freedom Charter here in Kliptown, saying, the people shall share of the land and there shall be equality and no racism. And
Providence, who's from Zimbabwe, says he used to send money to his family back home. He just doesn't make enough anymore, so he can't. He studied music there. He's a hairdresser in a kiosk over here.
As I can see, this economy in South Africa is like going down instead of rising.
Tsepo is his friend, but other South Africans have been less welcoming to Providence. Xenophobic attacks have been on the rise in recent years. Providence says that a gang recently threatened him and some Malawian immigrants, warning, "Once Mandela is buried, we're coming for you." Providence earns, on average, just over $100 a month. He spends more than half of that on accommodation.
Do you live in a shack?
Yeah,
Is it here in Kliptown?
in Eldorado Park.
In Elders? Will you show it to me? If you have time.
Nah.
No?
Nah.
A 2011 census indicated the number of people in South Africa living in shacks or informal settlements was almost 2 million out of a population of 50 million.
Tell the youth I will improve their living soon. I'm well into the revenues I've given. Who is willing to forbid the paths of spreading truth? Cause that will do a lot of harm to what I've done. My plot is one of minerals, it's minimal. Forget the past.
In talking to people, I started to recognize a theme. Many young South Africans felt cheated by the ANC. Some were even disappointed by the compromises Madiba made at the end of apartheid. There was talk of a new revolution.
Personally, I feel that he let us down. He let us down.
I met Lufuno Gogoro of the EFF, the Economic Freedom Fighters, outside the memorial at FNB Stadium. He told me the group left the memorial early to avoid a violent standoff with the ANC Youth League, the youth wing of the ruling party. Both sides were accused of booing President Jacob Zuma at Madiba's memorial, a cause for national and international embarrassment.
The constitution actually doesn't address the economical injustices. It is speaking about us laughing to each other, going to the same toilets, marrying one another, rainbow nation. That is not it. We are in an economical civil war. We cannot run away from that.
So you
that
want
is why
another
we demand
civil
it
war
now.
to fix the civil war?
This is a called civil war. People are fighting against one another. People are
Where's the
getting
civil
broke.
war?
If you can look at these people they hate one another because of we don't have
I was in
money.
Kliptown just now.
Because you're white. Because
I'm
you're
not white.
white.
I'm brown, man.
Because you're
Indian.
brown. Because you're Indian. Actually.
Does this feel like civil war to you?
Yes, this is. If you cannot benefit, you start to hate one another. People are killing one another. Let me tell you.
You sound a bit romantic, like the berets and Che Guevara. I don't know. It sounds like sort of Soviet, Marxist, maybe Stalinist nostalgia. It sounds nostalgic. It doesn't sound real.
It feels like we are fantasizing. But
It sounds like a fantasy. But do we have to really wear these berets and wear red and chant slogans and call each other comrade and stuff to get a revolution? Can't we have an authentic South African revolution? This sounds like a foreign import. Your slogans sound foreign.
Economic freedom in our lifetime. That is our slogan. We demand that now.
Lufuno's leader, the EFF Commander-in-Chief Julius Malema, has developed a cult-like following among the youth of South Africa. Malema used to be the leader of the ANC Youth League and loyal to President Zuma. But Malema got caught up in allegations of fraud and corruption and was expelled from the ANC, making Zuma his enemy. Malema's followers insist that his calls for radical economic transformation were unpopular with a ruling party that they believe had sold out the dreams of the black majority. The party is young, but their impact has already been strong. Malema and his followers are often demonized by media, both local and international, and seen as an unruly, uneducated mob wanting to plunder the nation's wealth and plunge the country into chaos. A crowd of EFF revolutionaries and their leader Malema met at a nearby petrol station and arranged to march to the Mandela home in the upper middle class suburb of Houghton. They wanted to show wealthy locals that they came to pay their respects and not to cause any trouble.
Conduct ourselves in a dignified manner.
Tata, who will look after SA Malema? And if you put Malema and Mandela's names together, people will say you're using the man's death to promote your political party. Okay. Show them that you care about South Africa, that's all.
Don't write what this guy is saying.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. I think that side.
Shorter. EFF will always love Tata Mandela. Amandla Mandela. No, EFF will always love Tata, full stop. Which part of Madiba shall we remember the most? The rebel and revolutionary, or the forgiver and the man who reconciles South Africa.
You are tearing him apart. He's everything in one. You can't tear him apart. Madiba is a revolutionary. Madiba is an icon. Madiba is a commander-in-chief of Kondowe season. A man who was prepared to take arms and kill for the liberation of his people.
But nobody wants to talk about that.
I'm speaking about it. A true Nelson Mandela is a militant, a radical, and a revolutionary.
South Africa is free, but you say economically South Africans are not free. Why?
All of us agree. Even Mandela's organization agree that there is no economic freedom in this country. Madiba ushered in political freedom, and when he went on retirement, he said struggle continues, and we knew what he was talking about. Let's go.
When Craig Timms was a young man in the army, he was tasked with arresting people in the townships who wore T-shirts bearing Madiba's image. Timms left South Africa soon after for the UK. He came back, he says, to give his children a chance of experiencing the new South Africa.
How do you feel that Julius is coming here? He's probably going to criticize Zuma.
I'm fine with the EFF coming here. I've got no problem with that. I think they're a voice for people who are in dire straits. I think they're a necessary element of politics in South Africa.
Mandela's ANC, or African National Congress, is the biggest political game in town. In the last election in 2009, it got 66% of the vote. But with 1 in 4 South Africans seeking work, many have become disenchanted with the ANC. The most disappointed? The youth. 70% of unemployed South Africans are under the age of 34. It is from that disillusioned mass of voters that opposition groups like the EFF are winning over converts. Land lies at the heart of the contrast between rich and poor, black and white. Almost 90% of private property was owned by whites at the end of apartheid. Today, whites, who are 10% of the population, still retain the bulk of privately owned land. Pindile Dlamini and Liesel Lurtz work closely with some of the most marginalized in South African society.
But there's no roads, there's no running water, there's no network. For instance, a woman is pregnant and she's in labor and they try and contact emergency services. It's either it takes a while because of the service, or when it goes through, the ambulance then says they don't go into that area because there are no roads. So women die, children die because of simple access.
My dear brother, my mentor, my leader.
While the funeral happened 900 kilometers away in Kunu, people in and around Joburg were watching it live on TV. We hung out in Mandela's old neighborhood, a part of Soweto that has become something of a political pilgrimage site.
What's your name, sir? Debogo.
The people who lived next door to Mandela's old home on Velakatsi Street invited me in for a chat.
Truly speaking, Zuma is fucked up in the country. Like, they're bringing threat to the ANC organization.
David Sirole, his sister Gloria, and their friend Matsepo Mokgotsi are all ANC members. They would never consider joining any other political party. To them, it was reforming the party and ousting President Zuma from within that was the key to solving South Africa's myriad issues. The ANC was South Africa's liberator, but 20 years on, these young ANC members now wanted to liberate the party from itself.
We're no longer in the apartheid era. We're in a different struggle now.
What is happening in South Africa? If Mandela is an icon, then these people following him, are they understanding his vision? Are they living the vision, or are they just saying it? And what does it mean to them? It means nothing, because we're not applying it.
Economic freedom might not have been attained for all South Africans, but there's a passion among young people like Matsepo to freely question, to criticize, and to mobilize. The 2014 election is South Africa's first without Madiba, the father of the nation. 2 decades on, it is now up to this young generation to to complete Nelson Mandela's unfinished business. But one thing is clear. There is a restlessness in the Rainbow Nation.
Do you know the anthem, Nkosi Sikelele? Sing it for us. To the camera! Let's live and strive for freedom in South Africa. Go.
Now is your turn.